everyone, welcome back to the channel. So in this video we are going to be starting with the FreeCodeCamp curriculum, the JavaScript part of it. Yes, so this is what we'll be looking at, and for this particular video we are going to start with the basic JavaScript. So as you can see, there are a series of 113 exercises and challenges, and this is going to be part 1 of 3. Okay, so let's get started with the very first lesson. Okay, so the way this works is that you have the notes here, and then you have the editor here where you're going to write your code, and then you also have the console here. So if there's any error, it will be shown here. And then you have these tests that the code that you write should pass. So when you run the test, it should pass. Okay. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing we want to look at is comments. So in JavaScript or in programming, when you write a comment, comments are not going to be executed. They are a great way to leave notes for yourself and for other people who look at your code later. Okay, so in JavaScript, there are two ways of writing comments. The first one is to use 2/ like so. And when you use this, you can write an inline comment, or you can write a comment on only one line. But when you want to write comments on more than one line, you use this. So it's a / and then a star, and also a star, and then a / and then in between that you can write your comment. Okay, so for this challenge we have to write one of each. So try creating one of each type of comment. So for the first one, we use 2/ like so, and we say, let's say example of one line comment. And then for the second one, we have a /. Let's add our star symbol. Let's also bring the star symbol and add our / like so. And we can just say example of comment that takes more than a single line. Okay, all right, so let's continue. Now when you run the test, it passes. Okay, so I'll just click go to next challenge. All right, so in this next challenge, we want to start looking at how to declare variables. So I'm not going to read through all of this because you already have access to it. So I encourage you to read it. But what I will be doing in this video is to provide commentary on some of the more important things that I think you need to pay closer attention to. Okay, so in JavaScript or in programming, variables are used to hold data. Okay, so like it's written here, there are 8 different data types. We have undefined, null, boolean, string, symbol, big int, number, and object. So as we move forward, we are going to be looking at each of them one by one. But now let's look at variables. So variables, as I said, they are used to hold or store data. And the way we declare variables in JavaScript is to use this var keyword. Okay, so you write the keyword var and then the name that you want to use for the variable. All right, so in this challenge we want to create a variable called our name. Okay, so we say var or var, bring a space, and then you write the name of the variable. So in this case, the name of the variable is our name, like so. So that's how you you declare a variable in JavaScript. Okay. Okay, so something is wrong. Also, I should declare this one, the example was our name, but what I should write here is my name. So like so. All right, now on to the next one. So in this next challenge, we want to assign a value to the variable that we've created. So when you create a variable, you can give it some sort of a value or give it some data to hold. Okay, so as you can see this example, we have a variable called my variable, and we've assigned a value of 5 to it. So this equal sign here is called an assignment operator. So that is what you use to assign a value to a variable. So if there are any calculations, it will be done before the variable is assigned. So for example, if var is equal to, let's say, 5 plus 2, JavaScript will do this math of 5 plus 2 before assigning the result, which is 7, to the variable we have here. Okay, so let me clean it up. All right, so in this example, we have var, and my var is given a value of 5 using the assignment operator. So let's see what we are to do in this challenge. We are supposed to assign the value 7 to the variable a. So we have the variable a here, and want to assign the value 7 to it. So we bring our equals sign or assignment operator, and we say 7, like so. All right, so now you should not change the code above the specified comment. Okay, so let me clean this up. So only change the code below this line. Okay, so this is the setup. So let me come here and I'll say var a, and then I'll say 7. Okay, so I've brought my assignment operator, which is the equal sign, and then I'm assigning a value of 7 to the variable a. All right, let's continue. Okay, so before we move on, let me say that I am going to leave a timestamp below for all of the challenges. Okay, so if you can't watch everything at a go, you can pause when you have to, and when you come back, you will know exactly where to continue. So I'm going to leave timestamp below. You can check it out. All right, so assigning the value of one variable to another. Okay, so let's see. Here we have this variable called my var, and we have assigned a value of 5 to it. So my var is now having a value of 5. Now we also have a second variable called my num, and then we assigned to my num my var, right? So the value of my var will now also become the value of my num. Okay, all right. So let's see an example. Assign the contents of a to the variable b. So here we have a variable called a. We've given a value of 7 to a. We've assigned the value of 7 to a, and then want to assign the value of a to variable b. So the way we do that, we say var b. Let's bring our assignment operator, like so, and then we say a. Okay, so now what we've done is we've assigned the value of a to b. Okay, all right, let's continue. Initializing variables with the assignment operator. So far what we've been doing is that we've been saying var, my var, like so, and then we come down and we say my var is equal to, let's say, 1. Okay, but we don't have to always do this. We can straight away just say var, my var, and then just say 1. This is also correct, and often that's how you're going to declare variables. So in this example, we want to define a variable with var, the var keyword, and initialize it to a value of 9. So you're going to say var a, and we'll give it a value of 9, like so. All right, let's run the test, and the test passes. So go to the next challenge. Okay, so declaring string variables. So previously you used the following code to declare variables. So var my name, but you can also declare a variable like this. So var my name and then the string. So the string is a string of characters, and the way you declare string is to use these quotation marks here. Okay, so your name is called a string literal. So the characters within the quotation objects are called a string literal. So a string literal or string is a series of zeros or more characters enclosed in single or double quote. All right, so create two new strings, my first name and my last name, and assign them the values of your first name and last name respectively. So we say var my first name, and then like we said, to use a string we'll use quotation marks. So bring a quotation mark. I'll say Benjamin, that's my first name, and I'll bring my semicolon. Then I'll say var my last name. I'll say Sema, that's my last name, like so, and bring my semicolon. All right, now let's run the test. Okay, and everything passes as you can see. Okay, so now let's understand something called uninitialized variables. Okay, so when you declare a JavaScript variable, they have an initial value of undefined. So for example, this var here, until you come here to assign a value to it, it is undefined because you haven't defined or you haven't assigned any value to it. Okay, so when you try working a mathematical operation on undefined variables, it will result in what we call none, or NaN, which means not a number. Okay, so for example, just to show you an example, I'll say var my value. Okay, then I'll say console log. So console log will show up here, and I'll say my value plus 2. And as you can see, we have none, which means this my value plus 2 cannot be a number because my value is undefined. Okay, so when you use console.log, whatever you put in console.log will be shown in the console here, or this space here. All right, so let me clean this up. So initialize the three values a, b, and c with 5, 10, and I am a respectively, so that they will not be undefined. Okay, so we'll say v or var a is equal to 5, var b is equal to 10, and c will be equal to a string, which is I am a, like so. Okay, moving on. Let's try and understand what we call case sensitivity in variables. So in JavaScript, variables are case sensitive. So what this means is that if you have this, my var, if you have my var, if you have my var, like so, these three things, even though they have the same letters, they are not the same. JavaScript will treat them differently because JavaScript is case sensitive. Okay, so what we do in JavaScript, or a best practice, is that we use something called camel case. So camel case is when the first word has small letters, but the subsequent words begin with a capital letter. Okay, as you can see, this has a first letter of small words. This second word begins with a capital letter. Then this third word also begins with a capital letter. Okay, same here. Begins with a small letter. Second word begins with a capital letter. Third word, name, begins with a capital letter. S, which is the fourth word, begins with a capital letter. This also begins with a capital letter, like so. So the very first word begins with a small letter. Every word after it begins with a capital letter. That's what we call camel case. Okay, so we want to modify the existing declaration and assignment so their names use camel case. Do not create any new variables. Okay, so for this we have steadily cap var. So I'm just going to bring a space here. I'm going to want it to use camel case, so the first letter will be small. Then the first word is steadily, like so. Then we have cap. Cap should begin with a capital letter. So I'll say C, capital. Say cap. var should also begin with a capital letter, V, and everything else should be small letter, like so. Okay, so now I'm going to clean this up. And I'm going to copy this and replace it with this one. Okay, let's do the same for the second one. So var proper camel case. So this one is already a proper camel case because as you can see, the first word begins with a small letter and has small letters throughout. The second word begins with a capital letter, and the third word also begins with a capital letter. Now let's do the same for this. So I am going to change this T from capital to small t, like so. And now it is also a proper camel case, so title case over. So I'm just going to copy this and replace it here for us to have a proper camel case. And I'm going to copy this as well, which is a good camel case, and replace it with this one. Okay, so now we've properly made them all into camel case. Okay, so now let's explore the differences between var and let keywords. Okay, so in JavaScript, there's not just a single way of declaring variables. You can declare a variable with var, and you can also declare a variable with let. But there is a difference. Now, the difference is that over here, you see we have cat name Oliver. So I can also say var cat name, and let me just say Mickey. And as you can see, there is no error here. But assuming I define a variable with let me say cat food, and I say chocolate. Yeah. And let me say I also come here and say let cat food. Now, as you can see, there's an error. So I cannot say let cat food and just give it a new name, let's say spaghetti. Okay, that wouldn't work because as you can see, the syntax error says identifier cat food has already been declared. So that's the main difference between declaring variables with var and then declaring variables with let. When you declare variables with var, you can redeclare them. As you can see, we declared cat name here, and we also redeclared cat name. But when you declare variables with let, you cannot redeclare them. That's the main difference between var and let variables. Okay, so I'm just going to clean this away, which was just to show you an example. Okay, so now you can read this just to get a better understanding. But let's see what the challenge. The challenge says update the code so it only uses the let keyword. So I'm just going to change this from var to let. Okay, and then let's go to the next one. All right, declare a read-only variable with the const keyword. Okay, so another way we can also declare variables is what we call const. So const is constant. It stands for constant. So when you declare a variable with const, you cannot redeclare them just like the lets, and you cannot also reassign them. Okay, so with let you cannot redeclare, but you can reassign. Okay, so let me show you an example. So let's say we say let, again, let me use the cat food example, and I'll say chocolate. So you cannot say let cat food and give it a new food, let's say rice. Okay, JavaScript will throw an error, as you can see here. But with let, you can reassign them. So you can say something like cat food is equal to rice, and you see there is no error here. But assuming this was a const, then you see cat food is read only, so you cannot redeclare it, and you can also reassign it. So that's the difference. I'll leave a link to an article I wrote below that delves into the differences between variables created with var, const, and let, so you can have a look at it. All right, so let's see what we are supposed to do here. Okay, one thing also you should notice, often it is best practice, or most it is conventional, that when you are declaring a const value, you use caps throughout. Okay, that's just the conventional practice. So change the code so that all variables are declared using let or const. Use let when you want the variable to change, and const when you want the variable to remain constant. Okay. Also rename variables declared with const to conform with common practices. All right. So as you can see here, we don't want FCC to change. So we'll use const for this instance. And we'll change this to make it all become caps like so. Const FCCC is equal to FreeCodeCamp. And now as you can see, JavaScript is giving a reference error because FCC is not defined. And that's because JavaScript is case sensitive. This FCC here starts with a small f. And so JavaScript doesn't see it the same as this one. So I just change this one from this to this. All right. Now let's also change this from var to let. So we say let fact is equal to school, and then we can reassign the value is school and change it to is awesome. So now FreeCodeCamp is awesome, as you can see. Okay, let's move on. Now we can use JavaScript to perform mathematical operations or calculations. So we can use JavaScript to add two numbers together. For example, const my var is equal to 5 plus 10. When you console log my var, you should get a value of 15. So now let's change the value of 0 so that sum is equal to 20. So now we have to make the value of 0 10. That way, if we do console.log and we say sum, you see the value is 20. All right, let's move on. Okay, now we can also use JavaScript to perform addition and also to perform subtraction. So as you can see, we can use JavaScript to subtract one number from another using the minus symbol. So change the 0 so that the difference is 12. So we have 0 here. So for us to get a difference of 12, this has to be 33. I hope I'm right. So let's do console log to see what we get. So difference, yes, and as you can see, difference now has a value of 12, which is shown below here. Okay. Again, we can also use JavaScript to perform multiplications. So multiply one number to another. So change the 0 so that the product will be equal to 80. So product is the result you get from multiplying two numbers. So 8 and 0 will have a product of 0, but 8 and 10 will have a product of 80. Let's console log product and see if that is true. All right, as you can see, we have 80 here. So now let's run the test. And we passed the test. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we can also divide one number by another with JavaScript, and we use the / symbol for division. Okay, so change the 0 so that the quotient is equal to 2. So for us to get a quotient of 2, first let me do console.log of quotient. Now as you can see, the number is infinity because we are dividing by 0. But what if we divide by 33? Then we get a value or a quotient of 2. All right. Next up, let's look at a way to increment a number using JavaScript. So if you have a number, let's say my var, and the value is 87, and you want to add 1 to it, you can just say my var is equal to my var plus 1. Or there's a shorthand you can use, which is the ++ operator. So the way you use the ++ operator is just write the variable name and then add 2 plus signs. So just ++. So change the code to use ++ operator on my var. So we have my var here. You can just clean up all of this. Okay, so first let me do console.log my var, And as you can see, this is 87 here, but because of this line, my var is now 88. Okay, so I'm just going to clean all of this. And as you can see, we are back to 87. But watch what happens if I do my var plus plus. There you go. We now have 88, which means a value of 1 has been added to my var. All right, let's continue. Now, just as we have plus plus operator, we also have a minus minus operator, okay, which is used for decrement. So it's the opposite of what we did in the previous challenge. So let me do console log my var. And as you can see, we have 11 here, but my var is 10 here because of this line. Now just going to clean this up, and my var is back to 11. But watch what happens when I do my var minus minus. We now have a value of 10. Okay? Yes. Let's continue. All right. So now we want to create decimal numbers with JavaScript, which you can also do. JavaScript can take decimal numbers. All right, so note, when you compute numbers, they are computed with finite precision. Operations using floating points. Floating points are also decimal numbers, may lead to different results than the desired outcome. If you are getting one of these results, open a topic on the FreeCodeCamp curriculum. So you can click this and it will take you to the FreeCodeCamp forum where you can start a thread. Okay, you have help from other students as well. Okay, so let's create a variable called my decimal and give it a decimal value with a fractional part. Example 5.7. Okay, so let's just say const, or you can use any of the other ways of declaring a variable. So my decimal, and let's say I'll use 3.2. Okay, all right, that works. Okay, now let's multiply two decimals with JavaScript, which we can also do. So change the 0.0 so that the product will be equal to 5.0. Okay, so first, before I change it, let me do a console.log of product. And you can see we have a value of 0 because any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So now I want to change 0.0 so that the product will become 5. So the way we're going to do that is to multiply 2 by 2.5. And as you can see, we have our 5. All right, on to the next one. Now, let's divide one decimal with another. So we have a value of quotient here, and let me say console.log quotient. And as you can see, the quotient is now 0. But we want to set that quotient will be 2.2. So we are dividing by 2.0. So to get a value of 2.2, we need to divide by 4.4. Okay. Now, as you can see here in the console, we have a quotient of 2.2. All right. Okay. Now let's look at something called the remainder operator. So the remainder operator is used to find the remainder, or what is left after you've divided one number with another. Okay, so for example, 5 remainder 2 is 1. And that's because when you divide 5 by 2, you get 2 remainder 1. Okay, because 2 times 2 is what? 4. And 5 minus 4 is what? 1. So 2 goes into 5 2 times, but there will be a remainder of 1. Okay, yeah. And in mathematics, you can use the remainder to check whether a number is even number or an odd number. Because if a number is an even number, when you divide it by 2, there should be no remainder, or remainder should be 0. And if a number is an odd number, when you divide it by 2, there should always be a remainder of 1. All right. So in this exercise, let's set remainder equal to the remainder of 11 divided by 3 using the remainder operator. Okay, so currently we have remainder here. I'll just say console.log. Now you don't need to be doing this console.log. I am just doing it because I want you to see what happens when we perform those operations. But you can do it too if you want to get a better understanding. Alright, so const remainder is equal to, let's say 11 divided by 3, but we are using the remainder operator, so we say 11 remainder 3. Okay, so we have 2 here, and that's because 3 goes into 11 how many times? 3 times. 3 times 3 is what? 9, and then we'll be left with 2. Alright, so that's the 2 that we have here. Okay, now let's look at what we called compound assignment. Okay, so in programming, it is common to use assignment to modify the content of a variable. Remember that everything to the right of the equal sign is evaluated first. Okay, so we can say something like my var is equal to my var plus 5. What will happen is that JavaScript will look at the current value of my var. Let's say the current value of my var is 5, and then we'll add another 5 to it, and then that will be 10, and assign that new value of 10 as the new value of my var. Okay, so let's see what happens. So let me copy this, okay, and then paste it here for you to see. All right, so here we have my var is equal to my var plus 5. But instead of writing my var plus 5, you can also write my var plus equals 5. So that's the same thing. Okay, so here my var is 1, and I can write, okay, you know what, let me comment this out. So this how the comments work. You see, when I commented this out, this code is no longer working. So my var is now 1. Okay, so that's how commenting works. So now let me do my var is equal to my var plus 5. Sorry, plus 5. And as you can see, the console log here gives us a value of 6. Okay, which means 5 plus this one here is 6. Okay, so this is correct. This works. But if you don't want to write all of this, you can just write. So you can delete everything here and write my var plus equals 5, and then you still have your 6 here. Okay, all right. So now let's see the exercise we are supposed to do. Convert the assignment for A, B, and C to use the plus equals operator. Okay, so we have A is equal to A plus 12. So we can just say A is equal to A plus equals 12. Okay, or you can just say, let's do console.log. I'll just copy it. Okay, and then paste it here. So I'll put A, B, and C. So as you can see, A is 15, B is 26, but now we have B is equal to 9 plus 12. So let's change it and see if we still have the same 26. So I'll say B plus equal to, sorry, I'll say B plus equal to 9. Okay, so plus equal to 9, and we still have our 26. Okay, now C is 19. Let's see if I do C plus equal to 7, we still have our 19. Okay, all right. Now, just as we have plus equals, we also have minus equals. So it works the same way. Okay, so convert the assignments of A, B, and C to use the minus equals operator. So I'm just going to say console.log. I'll say A, and I'll copy and paste. B, then I'll turn this into a C. All right, so now instead of using A is equal to A minus 6, I'll just say A minus equals, and we still have our value of 5 here. So currently here we have minus 6. If I do B minus equals, we still have our value of minus 6. And the same thing here, if I do C minus equals, we still have our value of 2. All right. Now the same way, we also have the times equals, okay, which works the same way like the previous one we've been working on. So A is equal to A times 5 can be written as A times equals 5. A is equal to 3 times B can be written as A times equals 3. So let me just clean this up. Then we can do the same here. We say A times equals 10. Or C times equals 10, and it works the same way. All right. Okay, so now we also have the same thing for the division. So divide equals also works the same way. A is equal to A divided by 12 can be written as A divide equals 12. The same way, B is equal to B divided by 4 can be written as B divide equals 4. C is equal to C divided by 11 can be written as C divide equals 11. All right. So let's move on. Now let's come to look at something called strings. So strings are characters in JavaScript. So when you want to use a string, you use quotation marks. So you can either use a quotation mark, a double quotation mark, or a single quotation mark. Okay. But what about the situation where, so for example, let me give you an example here. So let's have const string. Okay, let's say this is Jane. Okay, console.log string. As you can see, we have Jane here. Okay, but what about if we wanted to do, okay, so let's say, assuming we use the single quotation, I just wanted to show you something, and want to use Jane's bag. Okay, as you can see, we have an error because what JavaScript is doing is that it sees the first string and says that, okay, this is where the string begins, and then see the first quote, and say this is where the string begins, and see the second quote and say this is where the string ends. So it ignores these ones. Okay, now if you want to avoid that, if you don't want JavaScript to ignore the rest of your string because it encountered the string, you use the backslash. So you put a backslash here, and then JavaScript sees this and says, okay, this is not the end of the string. This is just a quotation mark within the string. Okay. All right. So just like this. All right. So let's see the example we have. So in this example, we have a sample string or sample str that says, Alan said, Peter is learning JavaScript. Okay, so as you can see, we have Alan said, and this quotation mark is within the string. It's not at the beginning or at the end. So it's within the string. And so because of that, we have to precede it with a backslash so that JavaScript knows that it is a quotation mark within the string. Okay. Now, using backslashes to assign a string to the myStr variable so that if we were to print to the console, you will see I am a double quoted string inside double quote. So let's try that out. So we'll say I am a. So we are coming to use a quotation. So we'll bring our backslash bring the first quotation, say double quoted, bring another backslash, bring the quotation, and I'll say, so as you can see, I am a double quoted string inside double quotes. So string inside, let's bring our backslash, double quotes. Let's bring another backslash like so, then bring our full stop. All right, so as you can see, I am a double quoted string inside double quotes. Okay, so moving on, quoting string with single strings. Okay, so string values in JavaScript may be written with single or double quotes, like we mentioned earlier. As long as you start and end with the same type of quote, you are fine. So when you start with a single quote, your string has to end with a single quote. When you start with a double quote, your string has to end with a double quote. Okay, just like that. All right, unlike some other programming languages, single and double quote works the same in JavaScript. So this is an example of a double quote. This is an example of a single quote. All right, now if you want to use a single quote, look at this right here. You see conversation is equal to Finn exclaims to Jakes, algebraic. Now this is a single quote. It begins with a single quote and ends with a single quote. So because of that, within it, you can use double quotes without having to bring the backslash. And also, if you use a double quote, within it, you can use a single quote without having to bring the backslash. So for example, we can say const string is equal to James. If I want to use James, write James back, I'll say James back. Okay, now let me do console.log string, and that's what I have, James back. And that's because I started with a double string, a single string, and ended with a single string. So within it, if I want to use another single string, I have to bring the backslash. But if I started with a double string like so and end with a double string like this, then I don't need to bring this slash. So I remove it, and as you can see, we still have our James back. Okay, so that's what this lesson is teaching us. So what we want to do in this lesson is that we want to change the provided string to a string with a single quote at the beginning and end, and then no escape characters. So this is the beginning. I'll change it to a single string. I'll change this one also to a single string. Now I can remove all the escape characters and it will work just fine. So I'll just remove this one, remove this one also, take this off, and that's it. Good. Now let's move on. So escape sequences in strings. So quotes are not only characters that can be escaped inside a string. Escape sequences allow you to use characters you may not otherwise be able to use. Okay, so for example, you can use single quotes and double quotes as we've seen. Also, if you want to use a backslash, you can bring one backslash, which will be escape, and then the backslash that you want to use. Okay, so let's just say this is a backslash, and I'll say backslash like so. Now let me console this out and see what happens. So console.log my str, and as you can see, this is a backslash. So the first backslash is an escape sign, and then the second backslash will be the actual backslash. Okay, so that's how we have it. And then also we can have a new line. So new line, let's say ABC, and say X, Y, Z. And as you can see, it's all on the same line. But if I should bring backslash N, you see that XYZ now begins on the new line. So anything that comes after this begins on a new line. So let me add another one. 1, 2, 3. It also begins on a new line. Okay. And let's see one more thing. So tab. So let me remove this right here. So tab T, and I'll say ABs, or let me just say 1, 2, 3. Tab. So let me bring the T. And as you can see, you have the first tab here, then there's a space, and then the second tab. Okay, so that's how it works. So these are, you can use the backslash to escape some of these characters. All right. So now we want to write this, assign the following 3 lines of text into a single variable, my str, which we have here, using the escape sequences. So we have first line, second line, which has a tab here, and then a backslash, and then a third line, which is on a new line. So we'll first say first line. As you can see, we have our second line. Let me also say second line. And let me also say third line. Okay, so now we know that the second line begins on a new line. So I'm going to add /n. Okay, and we also know that there is a tab. So I'm just going to add /t. And as you can see, there's a backslash before the second line. So I'll say for backslash and add another backslash. Okay, like so. Now, as you can see, this third line also begins on a new line. So I'll come here and add \n. And as you can see, we have this, which is similar to what we have here. All right, so that's it. Okay, let us continue. Concatenating string with a plus operator. So concatenation just means adding together. Okay, so we can concatenate strings in JavaScript. You can add 2 or more strings together using the plus operator. So as you can see this example here, we have my name is, which is a string, plus I concatenate. So let me just give you an example. Let me say console.log my str, which we have here currently is an empty. So I can just say my str is equal to my name is, and I'll say plus, bring another string here, and I'll say Benjamin. Okay. And one thing you need to know that when you are adding a concatenation, you have to take care of the space yourself. Okay, the plus operator will not handle that for you. So assuming I didn't bring this space, watch what happens. So my name is Benjamin, there is no space here. So I can bring the space here, or I can bring the space here. My name is Benjamin, like so. All right, so let's see the exercise here. Build my str from the strings. This is the start, this is the end, using the plus operator. Be sure to include a space between the string, like I was saying. So let's say this is the start plus this is the end. Okay, as you can see, because I haven't added any space, there's no space here. So I can just come here and add a space. And as you can see, there's the space here. Let me add a full stop here. All right, so this is the start, this is the end. There you go. Run test. And we pass on to the next one. Let's go. Okay, so concatenating strings with plus equals operator. Again, this is similar to what we did earlier. So you can have, let's say my str, and I can just say my str is equal to, let's say my name is, and okay, so let me do this instead. I'll say my name is, okay, and I can say my str is equal to my str, which is my name is, plus I'll say Benjamin. or let me add a space rather here, is the same thing. Okay, so now let me console log my str and see how it looks like. So you see my name is Benjamin. Or I can just comment this out and also do it this way. I can say my str plus equals, remember what we did with the plus equals Benjamin. And watch what happens. My name is Benjamin. Okay, so it's the same thing. All right, so what we want to do now, let me clean up what I did. All right, there you go. Now, build my str over several lines by concatenating these two strings. This is the first sentence, and this is the second sentence using the plus equal to operator. Okay, so that's exactly what I did. So I'll just say my str is equal to, this is the first sentence, full stop. Then I'll just say my str plus equal to, this is the second sentence. Okay, but as you can see, there's no space, so I'm just going to add a space here, and there you have it. All right, constructing strings with variables. Okay, so sometimes you will need to build a string by using the concatenation operator. You can insert one or more variables into a string. Okay, so here you have, let me just copy it and paste it here, and I'm going to console log our string, our str, and as you can see, hello, our name is FreeCodeCamp, how are you? And what you have here is hello, our name is plus concatenation here, our name. So our name, that's the value here, FreeCodeCamp, how are you? Okay, so we've concatenated these strings with a variable. So I can just come here and change the name of the variable. Let me say I want to use FCC, the abbreviation. So I'll just say FCC. And as you can see here, hello, our name is FCC, how are you? All right, so let's just clean this up and see what we are supposed to do. All right, set my name to a string equal to your name and build my str with my name between the strings. Okay, using these strings. Okay, so I'm going to say const my name is equal to, I'll say Ben, and my str, I'll say my name is, I'm concatenating it, so plus my name, which is the variable we've defined here. Okay, and as you can see, we have the third one, which is and I am well. You should be mindful of the space before my name and the space after my name. Okay, if you fail to add them, your code might not pass, so be mindful of that. All right, there we go. Appending variables to strings. So just as we can build a string over multiple lines out of string literals, we can also append variables to a string using the plus equal operator. So similar to what we've already been doing. So let's say you have a, let me copy this and paste it here. You have a constant here called an adjective, which has a value of awesome. And you have let our str here is FreeCodeCamp is blah. Now you are appending it, so you are adding it to the end of it. So you are appending our str plus equal to. So this is the same as this. So it's the same as our str is equal to our str plus an adjective. So this is the same. this you see here and this right here are the same. Okay, all right. So now let's do a console log of our str, and as you can see, FreeCodeCamp is awesome. So I can say FreeCodeCamp is amazing, and as you can see, the variable changes. Okay, so let's clean this up. Let's change the name here, my str. All right, set some adjectives to a string of at least 3 characters and append it to my str. So I already have const some adjective here. I'm going to send it to fun. That's the adjective I want to use. And I'll say, let my str is equal to learning to code is. As you can see, learning to code is nothing. So now let me append this adjective here, which has a value of fun, to learning to code. So I'm just going to say my str plus equals operator, and I'll say some adjective. Now, as you can see, learning to code is fun. And yes, it is. I hope it is for you as well. All right. On to the next one. So let's look at something or a method we can use to find the length of a string. Okay. So for example, we have console.log alanpeter.length. Now this gives us a value of 10, and that's because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And yes, it's counted the space as well. The space is a character, so it counts it as part of the length of the string. Okay, so if I should take the space out, the length is now 9. Okay, so if you want to get the length of a string, you just append dot length to it, dot length, and then you get the length of the string. Okay, so use the dot length property. Yeah, so we call it property. So use the dot length property to set last name length to the number of characters in last name. So here we have last name length, which is initially set to 0. And then we also have const last name is equal to Lovelace. That's the surname of Ada Lovelace. So, and Ada Lovelace was the first computer programmer, in case you are wondering. Yeah. So last name length is equal to last name. We want to change the code below so that we'll get the length of the last name. Okay. So let me do console.log last name length. Okay, currently we are getting Lovelace because last name length is set to last name. But if we add dot length, then we get a value of 8 because Lovelace is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters. Okay. All right. So using bracket notation to find the first character of a string. Okay. So we can ask JavaScript to get us the first character of a string. In this case, the first character is L. Okay. And the way we do that is to use what we call bracket notation. So we add brackets and then we use the number 0. The number 0 because JavaScript uses what we call zero-based indexing, which means, you see, normally when we are counting, we start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. But in JavaScript, when we are counting, we start from 0. So we count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's why. So for example, if you have const first name, which is Charles, and you say first letter is equal to first name, you bring your bracket notation and you give it a value of 0, it is going to fetch the first letter, which is C for you. Okay, so use bracket notation to find the first letter in the last name variable and assign it to first letter of last name. Okay, so let me copy this and I'll do a console.log of it. Okay, as you can see, currently you are given all of the letters or characters. That's because we've set first letter of last name to first or to last name, but we want only the first character. So I'm going to add the bracket notation like so, then I'll give it a value of 0. Now, as you can see, we have L, as you can see here. Now, if I should change this to 1, you have O, which is the second letter. If I change it to 2, you have V. If I change this to 2, you have V, which is the third letter. So that's how it works. Okay? All right, let's move on. Okay. Understand string immutability. Okay, so string immutability basically means you cannot change a character within the string, or you cannot mutate the string. For example, we have my str here, which is Bob. So even though you can get the first letter, which is B, you cannot switch the first letter, which is B, with a J by just saying my str bracket notation 0 and then say J. That will not work. JavaScript will produce an error. So if you just want to change it, you use let, you assign the value of Bob, and then you use the name of the variable my str, and then you give it the name of the new variable you want to use. Okay, so let's see an example here. We have my str, which is Jello World. We want to change J to H, but you can just say my str 0 equal to H. It wouldn't work. So we just clean this up and just say my str is equal to hello world. All right, and that will work. All right, use bracket notation to find the nth character in a string. Okay, like I was showing you earlier, you can say find the second letter of the first name, which is D, by using first name and a bracket notation and giving it a value of 1. Okay, so in this example, we want to find the third letter of last name. This is the last name. We want to find the third letter. And as we've said before, JavaScript starts counting from 0. So the third letter will be 0, 1, 2. So that's 2. So we just add 2 like so. Now let me just copy this. And then let me console log it. And let's see what we get. And there you have it. We have the third letter, which is V. Okay. All right. Now, we can also use bracket notation to find the last character in a string. So we know that JavaScript counts or starts counting from 0. Okay. So assuming this has a length of 8. Okay, and we want to get the last letter, what we have to do is minus 1 from the length, because 8 minus 1 will be 7. And that's how JavaScript will count. JavaScript will count from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so anytime you want to get the last character of a string, you can use, so I'm just going to first copy this. I'll say console.log and put it here. Okay, now we're just getting all the last name, all the characters of the last name, but we only want the last character. So we'll say, let's change this line. We'll say, bring this, and we'll say last name dot length. Now we know last name dot length is 8. Okay, and we are getting undefined right now because JavaScript will start counting from 0. So we say 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. By the time you get to 8, there is nothing. That's why we are getting undefined. So if we want to get the last letter, we just simply have to take 1 away from it. Okay, so JavaScript will just do the math. So last name.length is 8 minus 1, which is 7. So it's just the same as writing 7 here. You see, we still get an E. So it's just the same thing. But JavaScript will do the math for us. All right. Now, we can also use the same idea or the same strategy to find nth-to-last character in a string. So use bracket notation to find second to last character. Okay, so we just say, let me just copy this, do a console log. Okay, currently we have this, but we want the second to last letter, which is C. So we just say last name dot length minus, so instead of -1 we say -2 because we want second to last letter. Okay, and JavaScript will just do the calculation for us and fish the second to last letter for us. Okay, so now we're going to end here. This is going to be our last challenge or exercise in this video, and then we're going to continue part 2 in the next one. So you are provided with sentences with some missing words like nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverb. You then fill in the missing pieces with words of your choice in a way that makes a complete sentence. Okay, so we have an example here that says, it was really dash and we dash ourselves dash. So sentence says, it was really hot and we laughed ourselves silly. Okay, so you need to use the string concatenation operator plus to build a new string using the provided variables. Okay, all right, let's get to work. So we have these provided variables that we have to form a sentence with. So we can form a sentence like, the big dog ran quickly to the house. Okay, so let's try that. So let me just come here and say console.log word blanks so that we see what we are doing. All right, so I'll say there, bring a space, be mindful about the space. Now say big, so big is my adjective, so I'll say my adjective. As you can see, we have the big, bring another plus operator, dog. So the big dog, so I'll add a space here, okay, and I'll say the big dog is my noun. So the big dog plus the big dog ran quickly, so I'll say plus my verb plus run quickly, my adverb, okay, but I need spaces between these ones, so I'll just add another space here. So I need another space here. So the big dog ran quickly, I need another space here. Okay, the big dog ran quickly plus, okay, the big dog ran quickly, let me add to the house. Yeah, so now I have a complete sentence. The big dog ran quickly to the house. And what I did was just concatenate these variables that I have with some strings, okay? All right, so I think this is a good place to end part 1. Like I said, it's going to be a 3-part video for the JavaScript basics. So this part 1 will end here, and then we'll continue part 2, starting from looking at something called JavaScript arrays. Okay, so if you like the video, be sure to like and also subscribe to the channel so that when I post part 2 of the video, which I'm going to post very, very soon, you are going to get it as well. All right, thanks for watching and have fun coding. Bye-bye.